Me.
Okay, so straps, sort of handy. Yeah, I put a little bit about it in the MailChimp that I sent out yesterday, but in a nutshell, I was listening to a podcast about cultural appropriation in yoga. That's a whole other thing. And one of the speakers basically just said that yoga is a practice of, or is the pursuit of discomfort, or is a practice of discomfort, which I thought was really interesting. I think there's a lot of truth in it. I don't necessarily agree that for me is not necessarily a constant in my practice, but I do think it is a part of any kind of practice of self-inquiry where you're learning about yourself and about your body, really. So that's sort of where we're heading, with a focus on hips and shoulders. Hips, particularly in yoga, you might already be well aware of this, are kind of seen as a place where we hold on to lots of emotion, lots of memories. And so it's maybe just something to be aware of as we move through the practice. There will be some kind of deeper hip openers and longer holds, particularly towards the end. With that said, I personally don't have the experience, the desire, or the right to force you to kind of push into something or move into something that is deeply uncomfortable, whether that's physical or whether, you might find yourself at times going, oh, actually I'm in a hip opener and it's making me feel some other stuff. So that's not, for me, that's not the aim of the game. That's not my motivation. But on the flip side, we are looking to, I don't even want to say not encourage discomfort, but we are looking at discomfort and maybe moving a little bit, moving a little bit further towards it, whatever that might be. So it's just really important to stay mindful of that difference between discomfort and pain. Discomfort, yes, cool, we'll invite that in, we'll see how we react to it, what perhaps is our initial sort of unconscious reaction, and then see if we can kind of gather ourselves and consciously work with the discomfort. But pain, different thing, and I'm always going to kind of ask you to move away from that if it starts getting into that region. So yeah, it's going to be some longer holds, slightly slower, steadier practice. Just keeping in mind that that's where we're headed. Discomfort. How does it feel? Maybe how do you quantify it? How do you react to it? So that, as I mentioned, that initial reaction, something flips a switch, versus how can we choose to respond? So with that in mind, we're going to start off kneeling. So if this is uncomfortable in a kind of, this doesn't feel very good way for your knees, feel free to sit any other way, or you can grab, if you've got quite a thick strap, you might find that even just tucking your strap, mine's a bit too small, but tucking your strap into the back of your knee crease and sort of just pulling it tight, encouraging it forwards, might give you a little bit more space through the knee joint. But yeah, ultimately, if it's not working for you, find a different seat. But if you can, kneeling, settling down onto the heels, allowing the hands and the arms to rest however feels comfortable. As you close your eyes, see if you can find that, that settling, that arriving on your mat. Perhaps almost switching gears as your practice begins. You might find that your attention falls quite easily to your breath. And if not, just taking some time to find that anchor. So that your breath is always there for you to refocus, to come back to anchor you back to your practice and to the present moment. In a perfect world, in inverted commas, in a perfect world, when we're paying attention to our breath, we're not giving attention to anything else, our plans for the future, our memories of the past. There is just our breath in this particular moment. Then you're going to take some time just to maybe scan through your body, or just check in and see if there is any discomfort that is present for you at the moment. It might be physical, might be perhaps some discomfort or some stressful thoughts that you are having or have been having. And throughout this practice, your breath is able to provide you with a really useful tool. So any discomfort that you meet, breathing into that area, particularly if it's a physical part of the body, using your inhale to bring a little bit more light and space into that area, and attaching perhaps that discomfort, stress, tension to your exhale, and inviting it to leave your body. Or again, if it's in your mind, as you exhale, can you let go of that stress, or even just invite yourself to let go of that particular thought or thought pattern. And from here, maybe keeping your eyes closed, maintaining a little bit of calm if you can. You're just going to lift the hips off the heels so you can tuck your toes under. You might want to use your hands to help kind of spread the toes or place them on the mat. Now, this can be a little bit intense. So the more upright you are, the more the hips are stacked onto the heels, the spine is vertical, the more sort of weight you're going to have just naturally moving down through the toes and through the feet. So if that's a little bit much, maybe hands to the thighs or even hands on the floor in front of you, leaning forwards, taking a little bit of weight out of the feet. Because we are going to be here for a not insignificant period of time. We still want to see if we can find a little bit of release. So you might notice that when you meet a strong sensation, there's a tendency to almost kind of try and hold yourself away from it. That might come as a sense of your energy moving up a little higher, maybe a slight tensing or tightening around the chest or shoulders. This sense of being up kind of in your own head a little bit more. So can you find a degree of discomfort or intensity or sensation that allows you to feel it, but still rest down into it? And that sensation is likely to change. It might get more intense. You may find that with a bit of focused breathing, a bit of conscious attention, you're able to release some tension. It becomes maybe a touch more comfortable. You might find the sensation moves. One thing you can always rest assured of is that everything we do, everything we move through, everything you feel is going to be temporary. You always are in control ultimately. And you can move out of, move away from any discomfort or out any particular pose whenever you want. You are the person that has the control over that decision. Great. When you're ready, just easing out of that. Untucking the toes, maybe bringing your hands down to the mat, and perhaps tapping the tops of the feet, your toes out a little bit, if that feels like a good idea. But then you're going to start to tuck the toes once again and just walk yourself back into a malasana, or a wide squat. So adjusting the feet to a position that suits you. Taking your time to settle in. And to find the variation that's going to work for you this morning. Trying to soften the soles of the feet when you get there. Trying to encourage that little toe edge, the outer edge of the feet, to soften or to lightly roll down toward the floor, the mat. And you might have quite an active variation. You might be thinking of drawing the shoulders back and lifting the chest. You might be taking something a little bit more passive, allowing the shoulders to just be comfortable in whatever works for you. How are you using your breathing? Is it helping? If not, could you use it or focus it differently, somewhere different? From here, you're going to make your way up to standing any way you like. So if you're feeling good to just press straight up from the floor, go for it. If you want to move up to standing like you're 1,000 years old, like me this morning, yeah, whatever works for you. Just making your way up eventually to a standing position, feet not too close together. Little bend of the knees, just so that you can start to tilt and tuck the pelvis. Maybe synchronizing with your breath, maybe not. And making sure the knees stay soft. If we lock the knees out, we're going to limit that movement. Making sure the placement of the feet as well doesn't kind of hinder or obstruct. Taking the hips in a few circles, just 2 or 3 in each direction. And when you're done, just coming to stand comfortably. Then we're going to move into some shoulder work. So I would like you to make sure that as you move through, there is a little bit of kind of just support happening in the abdominals, that sense of keeping the front of the body a little bit more closed and the low back slightly long. So avoiding too much of this. You're going to take the arms straight out in front of you, thumbs up, so clench the fist, thumbs up, arms completely straight. You're going to push the arms forwards and away from you, so you're protracting the shoulders. Keep the arms long. Just check in with that pelvis and with the torso, with your core, essentially. Can you keep it nice and stable? Arms are pushy. You're going to reach or circle back, leading with the thumbs. When you can go no further, check in again with the torso, long, low back. From there, you're going to rotate the thumbs out and down to the floor. You want to feel that in your shoulders, in that ball and socket joint. Oh, and once the thumbs are pointing towards the floor, you're going to continue that circle, trying to squeeze the shoulders back, keep the arms long, pushing away from you until you end up where you started. Now do that same thing 2 more times. So same direction. pushing forwards, check in with the core, try and neutralize the low back or neutralize, yeah, exactly that. Circling back, when you can go no further, checking again, long low back, abdominals engaged. Try and rotate from the top of the shoulders, thumbs turn out and down to the floor, and then you're going to keep going with that circle. Until you end up back where you started. You're going to do one more like that. I'm not going to talk this time. Maybe give the arms a little shake when you get there. Have a little cry. And then move it back the other way. So really want to keep the arms long. Keep checking in with that push away of the arms. They're probably going to want to get a little bit softer. This time leading with the little fingers, circling back until you reach that kind of arm lock position. Check in again with the abdominals, with the low back. Rotating the thumbs once more out and around. So the little finger is on top again. Check in with the front and the back of the body as you continue to circle all the way up and over until you end up back where you started. It should feel fairly intense. Pushing forwards, circling back with the little fingers. When you can go no further, check again, try and reach the arms further away. Keep that as you rotate. Thumbs turn out, little finger then up back on top. Check in with your core, with the low back. Keep circling, try and keep the core nice and stable. Keep the arms long. So you end up back where you started. You're going to go one more time. Again, I'm not going to give you any cues through this third and final circle. Once you've finished your circles, grab your strap and you're just going to take maybe three or four dislocates. So we've done that active mobilization, and now it's going to be just a little more passive. That probably won't feel it. Excuse me. So you are completely in control of how wide or how narrow you have those hands. Again, try and keep the core nice and controlled so we're not getting too much kind of twerking happening. Trying to keep grounded through the soles of the feet. What is your reaction, your response to this discomfort? And all discomfort is not equal. And there'll be times perhaps where you want to, move a bit further into it, and times when perhaps that's not so appropriate. And sometimes that can be the tricky thing. Not to just always have the same approach. Oh, I'm going to back away, or oh, I'm going to go a little bit further. I think there's a bit more in there. So knowing when to back off as well. So once you've taken just 3 or 4 of those, you're going to take the strap down. Come to stand anywhere you like on your mat. You're going to make your way, you're going to make your way into a downward facing dog. So from wherever you want on your mat, moving however you like to get yourself into your downward facing dog. And as it's the first one of the practice, you've got plenty of time as always to sort of find your way, ease your way, feel your way in. Take a bit of time to find some stillness. Before slowly lowering the knees down to the mat, coming to an all fours position. So setting yourself up for some stability through the shoulders, but bringing the knees in towards one another so you've got that tripod position. You're going to keep the abdominals lightly hugging back, keep that stability around the shoulders, but pick up the right leg, right knee, and just start to circle the hip. And you can go kind of one circle one way, one circle the other way, or you can take 4 or 5 circles in one direction and switch it up. So waking up the hip joint, waking up the glutes. Active mobilization and stabilization of the core and of the shoulders, but without letting it get too gripped. And once you feel that you're satisfied on the right, you'll move to the left. Try and make sure the jaw doesn't get too tight, and try and make sure the back of the neck is perhaps comfortable or in line with the rest of the spine. And again, once you're satisfied, you're going to set that left knee down, make your way back into a child's pose. A child's pose, which is a little more active, so maybe planting the palms of the hands or the tips of the fingers even to help press and encourage the hips back towards the heels. Maybe you want to creep the arms a little further forwards. So not quite so restful this time, this child's pose, but a little more of an active or seeking a little bit more sensation, perhaps through the shoulders, through the lats. From here, you're going to make your way all the way forward onto your tummy, maybe starting with a pull back of the hands to help begin that shifting forward of the body. Once you come onto your belly, you're going to take a little bit of a cobra pose. So rolling the shoulders back, lifting the chest, using quite a lot of that strength in the arms. Again, you're welcome to adjust, to negotiate your way into your variation, making sure the neck is long, the jaw is nice and free. How much switching on is good for you in terms of the abdominals and the glutes? Then you're going to release it back down and we're going to start to sort of shift the balance, taking a little bit of that effort out of the arms and asking the back of the body to work just a little bit harder. So maybe now as you come up, you're staying on the tips of the fingers. Maybe you still have the palms planted, but just know that we're asking the back of the body to take up a little bit more of that effort. It's not necessarily to say the front of the body is completely passive. Going to release down. Same thing again. So bearing in mind as well that it's pretty likely, if that balance has been shifting bit by bit for these 3 rounds, that your backbone will get slightly less on each round. It's releasing down, having a little moment to rest, to maybe rock out the hips, to give the arms a breather as well if you're feeling that. And then we're going to go for a locust. So you can, of course, keep the hands and the tips of the fingers on the floor if you want to, or your hands are going to hover. I keep getting a notification on my screen saying that my internet connection is unstable, so I'm really hoping that that you can still kind of see and hear me. Let's carry on. So moving up into your locust, with or without the hands, and you might be comfortable to lift both legs. You might want to use one separately. You might want to keep your feet on the floor. Lots of variations, lots of options for you to kind of choose as you see fit. Okay, where perhaps are you finding discomfort? How are you going to respond to that? Consciously respond to that. Good. Releasing down. Get a little bit of a moment to rest, to rock it out before taking it back into a downward facing dog. And your option there is to kind of pause in your down dog, take some time, or if you want a little bit more movement, we've been fairly slow and steady this morning, to move it through maybe a few rounds of vinyasa. So taking what you need from the practice, and keeping in mind that sort of pursuit, if you like, of discomfort, or that study of discomfort, if you like. Remember that your breath is going to be, again, a really useful tool. It's there for you to use as you wish. But once you're ready to move on, so finish up what you're doing, take your time. You're going to make your way back into a downward facing dog. Again, step the feet in a little bit closer towards one another. Allow your knees to bend slightly and your heels to lift. Well, stability through the shoulders, stability through the core. You're going to pick up the right leg, keeping the knee bent, and circle that right hip. So like we did on all fours. Again, the direction, the number of circles is up to you. If you want perhaps to challenge yourself in a different way, maybe you are working with a straight leg. And when you're ready, stepping the right foot outside of the right hand and moving into a lunge variation of your choice. So it could be a lizard, you can take it into a high lunge if you want to, adding a twist, a quad stretch, side bend, whatever you want. And in fact, we're going to take 2 different lunge variations. And you're welcome as well to take one of these lunges in inverted commas as a hamstring stretch, if you want. Start to think about shifting into whatever second variation you might want to take. Again, remember that we are sort of looking, perhaps today, if it feels appropriate, to find positions that we maybe tend to avoid, or that we know that we find a little bit less comfortable or a little bit less enjoyable. As you release out of your second variation, you're going to step your way back to a high plank, continuing through a vinyasa. And once you're back in your downward facing dog, you're going to either step or jump the feet to the hands or walk the hands to the feet. But where you're getting to is going to be a chair pose. Any variation again with the arms, placement of the feet is entirely up to you. A few little pulses. As you pulse, just shifting the weight slightly to the right, to the left. Before pressing the leg all the way to straight. From here, you're going to make your way back into a downward facing dog. So anywhere you like to find that down dog. Once you're in your downward facing dog, we're going to take those hip circles on the left. So you want quite a strong, sturdy, if you like, setup. You want that stability around the shoulders and around the low back, around the core. As you start to move, circle the left leg, waking up left hip. It's also going to serve to wake up your shoulders. Make up your abdominals. Wake everything up, I suppose. Before then, again, stepping the left foot forward. And before, 2 lunge variations or 2 asymmetrical variations. As I mentioned, you're welcome to take a sort of a hamstring stretch. You know, so not technically a lunge. Starting to move it into your second variation. And always keeping that kind of open mind, open eyes, open ears. Self-inquiry. Again, remembering your breath is there to help you. And again, making your way gradually back into a high plank to continue through a vinyasa and back into a downward facing dog. This time from your down dog, right leg is going to lift again. You're going to step it toward the top of the mat, rising up into a high lunge. Adding to your high lunge, eagle arm. So right elbow is going to be on top this time. Make sure that you feel, again, kind of grounded, steady, because you're going to come to balance on your right leg at the top of the mat. We're going to take full eagle pose. So finding that balance, crossing left leg over the top when you're ready. Bending, standing leg, hips move back. Maybe hugging in towards the midline. That might be through arms. That might be through the legs, the thighs. To release from here, you're going to set the left foot back and we're moving it into side angle. So you're going to unwind the arms, step the left leg back and move it into whichever variation you would like of your side angle pose, maybe a bind or a half bind. Or once again, stepping back, maybe to a high plank for vinyasa once again, maybe you prefer to sub that out for something else. We've got that much on the second side. So when you're ready from a down dog, your left leg will lift, just stepping forwards, rising up into a high lunge. Eagle arms, left elbow on top. And from there, finding a bit of focus so that you can find your balance at the top of your mat. Crossing the right thigh over left. Making sure that as you bend your standing knee, the hips are drawing back. You're finding that little forward fold, a little hinge at the hips. Or once again, stepping back for your side angle on that second side. So you've got that strong warrior two stance through the legs. Reaching forwards, you might have elbow on the thigh, full or half bind. Again, whatever's going to work for you in terms of your body and your practice today, this morning. Again, releasing, stepping back, plank, vinyasa, whatever you want. And back into a downward facing dog when you're ready. So this time from your downward facing dog, maybe making your down dog just a tiny bit shorter, just a touch. Eye line's going to shift slightly forwards towards the hands, keeping the core nice and strong, low back supported. You're going to start to bend the elbows, lowering your forearms down towards the mat, hugging the elbows in. They don't have to go all the way down. Keep breathing, pushing into the hands, squeezing the elbows in. 3, 2, 1. Elbows straighten. Same thing again, eye line slightly forwards. Hips stay high as you bend the elbows. Elbows are not going to fan out wide. You're going to squeeze the elbows in towards each other. My heels are lifted and my knees are quite bent here. You might prefer to have legs straight. 3, 2, 1. Straightening up the arms. One more time when you're ready. Starting to bend the elbows. This time, forearms are going to come all the way down to the floor. Reset the arms slightly so you can take it into a dolphin pose. Finding your dolphin variation strong through the arms, so pushing the floor away, lifting the hips high, maybe walking the feet further forwards. Maybe you want to add some dips in. Keep breathing. Great stuff, and slowly bringing the knees down, maybe a child's pose, maybe sitting up, but just having a moment of stillness, eyes closed. Let go of whatever you don't need. So we're going to finish up with a little bit of stuff for the hips. I'm sorry for this terrible timing, but I am desperate for a wee. I'm just going to run for a wee. Do grab a drink or whatever you need. I will be very quick. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, got all excited, but it was all sunny and didn't limit my fluid intake this morning. Okay, so you're going to come to sit on the mat. You're going to take like a stag position. You can be strict about the 90-90 side of it, but you don't have to be. And the option is to have either hands to the back of the head or fingertips to temples, but you're welcome to use the hands on the floor as you see fit. So you've got right leg in front, left leg behind, hands wherever you want. So I'm going to slightly pitch just a little bit to the right to help me lift my left leg, and I'm going to circle it all the way around in front. If you've got a lot of space, you might be able to stack your left heel on top of your right knee here. If not, you're just going to settle into a sort of loose cross-legged position. And we're looking to find that kind of release into it. Then again, you're going to lift the front leg and take it back behind you. Going back to where you came from again, have that moment when you get there, just release into it for a moment and you're going to go again. Becomes more active. Lift the back leg, circle it round to whatever is accessible for you. Moment to be there before lifting, taking it back around. Same thing. Now this third time, we're going to bring the back leg around and we're going to try and stack left heel over right knee. So I know that I'm going to have to use my hands when I get there to help me into my sort of fire lock pose. So ways to make it a little bit more comfortable would be to tuck your right heel, the underneath leg, in closer towards your bottom. And again, if you've got a lot of space here, maybe you're working thighs parallel and shins at 90 degrees. Arrange your hands again, however feels most comfortable for you. I find it helps me to have just my hands resting on that top leg. You might prefer any other variation, or again, if this is not something that you particularly, that does much for you, maybe adding a forward fold. We're going to spend a little bit of time here. If you feel the body start to tense or tighten, maybe consciously focusing your breath into that area. And remember, you still have control over the intensity and even the duration. If you need to move out of this, that's something that you can do. Is there anything, anywhere that you could soften? Hands maybe. Jaw, shoulders, always good places to check. We're going to move from this fire log pose into cow face pose. So making your adjustments to stack left knee on top of right. And I always like here to rock forwards so that I can kind of get my knees a little bit more crossed, feet wide enough so that as you sit back, you've got space between the heels. If you want to add the arms, put left leg on top, we're going to go right arm on top. If you want it with or without your strap. And if it feels like it's a bit too much to have the arms and the legs going, pick one. Again, we want to be able to release into or lean into the sensation. As you start to make your way out from there, you're going to unwind that top left leg and send it out to the side. So you're in sort of a half straddle. So your right knee is going to stay bent. Excuse me, left leg out to the side. We're going to take a side bend over your left leg. Now, if you want to, you can absolutely catch your left foot with your right hand. If you're going for that, just be mindful that you don't allow the chest to stay turned down towards the floor. Still like to try and find that side body stretch. So if you've got that bind, it's bringing you, it's rolling you down. I want you to try and consciously roll yourself back underneath that right arm. I quite like to use my left forearm against my left shin. So I've got a little bit of leverage there. to help with my rotation. Where can you release some tension? Can you settle into the pose, into the sensation? Well done. Taking your time to make your way out. I'm going to move into that whole thing on the second side. So you'll find your sort of your stag 90-90, however you like to think about it, however you like to set yourself up, but with the left leg in front. In place of the hands is up to you. When you get there, you're picking up the back leg, bringing it around. Oh, lordy me. Bringing it around in front to wherever you can find. Settling into that before going again. Let's try and settle, have that breath out when you land, either with the right leg at the front or when it gets around to the back again. And the third time, we're going to settle into your fire log pose. So maybe giving yourself some help to stack right heel over left knee, to make any adjustments that you want to the underneath leg. Or moving it into your cow face pose. So trying to stack the knees one on top of the other, pointing straight ahead of you, feet wide. So now we've got the right leg on the top. If you're adding in your arms, that's going to be your left arm on top. Again, we're trying to release into it. Find some stillness. It might be that that is more uncomfortable than anything else. I know that's the case for me. I want to keep adjusting so I never really have to sit in it and feel it. I'm not quite ready to add those arms in today. this time, again, taking your time to unwind, to extend your right leg out to the side. Finding your half straddle and your side bend. Again, if possible, we want to make sure that we are getting that lateral side body stretch. So even if you're catching that foot, trying to spiral yourself under, the chest is turning outwards or upwards as opposed to down to the floor. Oops. Once again, rising back up, making your way out. Next place essentially is Shavasana. So any other last bits and pieces that you want, that you need, before you make yourself comfortable for a bit of stillness. And you find that Shavasana. You've still got your breath there to act as your anchor. And this is a chance for your body to process what you've just done. If possible, trying to avoid thinking about it, consciously processing it in our minds. A gentle reminder to let go any tension, any gripping, anything that you don't need.
When you feel ready, starting to deepen your breathing, to invite movement back into your body, to become a little more aware of yourself, the space around you. Slowly, gently finding your way back up to a comfortable seat, taking as much time as you need, as much time as you want. Just pausing when you do get there. Taking a little bit of time to sit with yourself, maybe to reflect on your practice. And maybe just holding in the back of your mind that idea of discomfort as a teacher as you move on into the rest of your day and the weekend, the week ahead. But thanks very much, guys. Have a lovely, I hope it's, stays this sunny, it's glorious. Have a great weekend, a great week. And do let me know if there's anything that you know you avoid in your practice, because obviously this practice was largely based on where I feel discomfort. And if it's something different for you, let me know. And if you want to, we can put it in for next week.